Lesson 1. Gaining the Mindset of a Champion. So in this lesson, I'm going to go over how to gain the mindset of a champion and reclaim the power inside you. And you can do this in many ways, but I like to use the term uncaging the bird. We are also going to talk about this concept of personal empowerment and what that means. What is the point of all of this? Why is it important? Why would we even want this? Because once again, in American culture, from my perspective, there are certain things that we are shown, if you want to call it programming, or we are influenced, or brainwashing, whatever you would like to call it, because we have had all these different influences. They have shown us a certain way to be. Okay, and a lot of the focus is on outside of ourselves. And so, one of those things in focusing outside of ourselves is the idea and concept that finding a romantic relationship is one of the most important things in life, and we don't have a lot of things for ourselves. Okay, so there's not a lot of push for independence and developing a relationship with ourselves. Okay, so getting into the episode, which I should be starting with relationship with self, but I'm going to go into that in another lesson. In this lesson, I want to talk about personal empowerment from the beginning. So when I say the beginning, how many back years, I don't even know. In American culture and a lot of other cultures, there is this authoritarian structure ruling, which is basically what I mean when I say that is it's a do what you're told because I say don't ask any questions, and or there will be a punishment or a consequence. Okay, so back in the day, whether that meant it was a physical punishment, whether it was spanking or was putting you in the dungeon, it's basically you're going to do what I say or else. Okay, so this is the structure that many of us have grown up in. And basically, what happens is if you don't want to do this, when you become a parent, you don't want to do this sort of style, you have to get really creative with your consequences. Because when you start asking questions like, are you spanking because you want your child to fear you, as an example, if you don't want to do it like that, you'd rather them respect you in another way, that's when I started pursuing other styles like democratic disciplining. So I wanted to insert that in there. Okay, so going back to people in positions of power. So for me, it was my dad, teachers, bosses, definitely the government, and that is for another show. And then because of what the media has portrayed to me, I actually am going to insert cops in there because they are the enforcers and regulators in society. That's kind of like, what I've looked at them as, but also too, like if I were to get pulled over, I think I'm going to jail. So there is an association with their role in society until at least I learned as an adult. I have a different view of them now. It's a little bit different. I'm also going to include in there organized religion because I was raised both half Baptist, Christian Baptist, and also with the Buddhist philosophy, but I resonated with that more. But I'm putting organized religion in there because basically up until the age of about like 12, 13, 14, I do consider that was about the time I really started thinking for myself. And as a result for that, realized how much it was governing me. And I felt like it had a lot of strict rules on me just being a free spirit, loving people and wanting, just to live life as a good person. And so that sort of faith in particular felt very restrictive to me or on me. So this is the point that I would say I definitely did not feel like I had rights nor my thoughts and opinions mattered under this authoritarian rule. So now I want you to ask if this is true for you. Do you think you are entitled to your own thoughts? Do you feel like you have the choice to think like a champion? Do you at times feel like you're putting on a show and living the life others want you to live? Okay, because if if you answered, yes to that question, then that would make sense that you have also been under the authoritarian rule if you weren't sure. So, going back to the champion mindset, I'm going to give you a personal example of who I was before when I was a teenager and even earlier in life, because I didn't really make my biggest changes till I was about 35. So, some examples is I never felt that I could just say no and not feel guilty about something. Say, for instance, I just didn't want to go to somebody's party. I felt like I would be lying if I was saying I was busy, even though I was just doing something else at home, whatever I wanted. So, I never felt I could say no. Then I always felt that I had, for examples, answering the phone when somebody would call, answering the door to strangers when actually that affected my safety. I was never able to put my foot down with my own clients when they no-showed appointments. Fearing guns. Again, that's a cultural thing to me to actually think, why would I even be thinking a gun is just going to automatically go off? So definitely a lot of fear around guns and crimes and criminals, especially where I grew up. Didn't have any problems with that. I feared confrontation. As far as the other parts, I would say definitely my personal power was taken from me, definitely as a result of authoritarian rule, and it affected the way I have moved through most of my life. Those beginnings of saying no. So my old mindset, I had the strong beliefs and opinions, but I repressed them. I was a people pleaser. I had low self-esteem, definitely low sense of self-worth, and all of that. So as I became an adult and opened my own business in my early 20s, that's when I started, really, really heavily pursuing self-help books and really getting into that whole scene and finding solutions for myself. And then after self-defense, about the age of 35, learning verbal assertiveness training, social skills, and actually really feeling my rights and building my uniqueness, all of this transformed my life forever. And so I think I have a really good grip on trying to explain a lot of things where you might not understand exactly what's going on, but it's fascinating to me that how much I actually realize that a lot of different things, not only negative thinking, but the lack of social skills, how much that affected me. So now I want to read to you a short list. It's kind of like a Bill of Rights. You can look them up online for many more. These are just a couple of ones that I thought you could either screenshot or you could print them out because they are so profound when you actually hear them. If you start writing them out or however you want to do it. But I'm going to read them to you now, and I just want you to take a minute to soak them up and really think about them, okay? You have a right to live the life you choose just because you exist. You have a right to stand up for yourself. You have a right to say no without feeling guilty. You have a right to state your opinions and thoughts. They have value. You have a right to remove yourself from a situation that may or is causing you harm. You have a right to your own personal space and to state that. Okay, so that is a short list. So now to close and recap this lesson, I want to ask you, what has affected your ability to believe you are a champion already? Would it be those things I stated above, your authority figures? Okay, what has affected your ability? Do you feel your power has been taken from you on any level? Does anything I said, does any of that make sense? Is there anything that prevents you from taking the next steps to personal empowerment? And is it something that interests you? Would you like to know what I mean about feeling like you need to uncage the bird inside of you? Okay, so I'd like you to take some time to sit with these before jumping into the next lesson, and I hope that they provided some value to you. So I will talk to you in lesson 2, and we're going to talk about more about perception and believing, and actually believing you can be a champion of yourself. Okay, thank you for tuning into this course. I hope you enjoyed it on Listenable, and I will talk to you in lesson 2.